She slapped my wife right in front of me and screamed, "This is HOA property, you people don't belong here." The fake badge on her chest caught the sun, shiny enough to fool a stranger, but I wasn't a stranger. I knew that badge was nothing but cheap metal. My wife stumbled back, holding her cheek, her eyes wide with shock, and that was the moment something inside me snapped. The so-called cop puffed up her chest, waving papers that looked like eviction notices, shouting like she owned the whole street. Neighbors peeked from their porches, whispering, afraid to step in. She pointed at me and barked, "Pack your stuff or I'll have you both arrested." I didn't move. I didn't raise my voice. I just stared at her, calm, too calm, because while she thought she was intimidating a helpless couple, she had no idea who I really was. "Ma'am," I said slowly, "you just assaulted my wife. You better pray the real police get here before I deal with you myself." She laughed, tossing her head back. "Real police, I am the law here." My wife gripped my arm, whispering, "Don't, not here, not now." But I saw fear in the neighbor's eyes, the way they believed her lies, and that's when I realized this wasn't just about us. She had been running the scam for months, maybe years, making families believe she had power. Tonight she crossed the wrong line. She strutted closer, her cheap badge dangling, and shoved the fake papers into my chest. "Sign it, or your house will be boarded up by morning." Her voice carried down the street, sharp and cocky, like she'd already won. A couple of neighbors gasped, some even pulled out their phones, but nobody dared to step in. My wife's cheek was already turning red, and she whispered through clenched teeth, "She hit me, and everyone saw it." I held the papers for a second, glanced at the fake letterhead that said Homeowner Enforcement Authority, and then tore them straight down the middle. That's when she snapped. "You just made the biggest mistake of your life," she snarled, pulling out a walkie-talkie. "Units, move in, arrest them both." I heard footsteps. 3 men in cheap uniforms came jogging down the street. Their belts had handcuffs, tasers, even holsters, but none of it matched, none of it standard issue. They looked more like mall security than cops, but the neighbors didn't know that. The fear spread like wildfire. My wife gripped my arm tighter. "They'll drag us out, they'll ruin everything." I bent slightly, whispering so only she could hear, "No, they just exposed themselves, watch." Because while they thought I was some ordinary homeowner, every move they made, every fake step they took, I was already analyzing like I'd been trained to do my entire life. And the truth was clear, these weren't cops. They were imposters, and I was about to dismantle their whole operation in front of everyone. The 3 fake cops fanned out, trying to box us in. One of them barked, "Hands behind your back, sir, or we'll use force." His voice cracked halfway through, nervous, untrained. I didn't move. Instead, I stepped forward, closing the distance between me and their so-called leader, Karen. "You really want to arrest me?" I asked, my tone calm but sharp. "Then say your badge number out loud right now." Her face froze for half a second, just enough for me to catch it. She sneered, covering it with bravado. "Badge number? I don't need to prove anything to you." She gestured at her men. "Cuff him." One of them hesitated, the other 2 moved in fast, grabbing my arms. My wife cried out, "Stop, he hasn't done anything." Karen smirked, lifting her phone as if recording our arrest was the highlight of her day. And that was her mistake. With one swift move, I broke the grip on my right arm, twisted the second guy's wrist, and had him on his knees before the neighbors even blinked. The third stumbled back, hands shaking, eyes darting to Karen like a scared child. Gasps rippled across the street. Karen's voice cracked for the first time. What are you doing? You can't fight officers of the law." I leaned close to the man on his knees, his fake badge almost falling off his vest, and said loud enough for everyone to hear, "Funny, because real officers don't scream when their wrist is locked." The neighbors started whispering louder now, doubt spreading, fear shifting. Phones were still recording, and that's when I saw it in Karen's eyes, panic, because she knew her little empire of lies was seconds away from collapsing. Karen tried to recover, shouting over the whispers, "Don't listen to him, he's dangerous, he attacked law enforcement." But her voice cracked and the neighbors didn't look convinced anymore. One of the women across the street yelled back, "Then why won't you show your badge number? Real cops always do." The crowd shifted, phones angled higher, capturing everything. The guy I had on his knees whimpered, "Karen, I told you this wouldn't work." She shot him a glare so sharp it could cut glass. "Shut up, stay in character." That one sentence was enough. Every neighbor who heard it gasped. The fake cops froze, shame washing over their faces. I stood tall, my voice steady. "Here's the truth, you're looking at a Navy SEAL commander. And you," I jabbed a finger at Karen, "just assaulted my wife, tried to impersonate an officer, and dragged innocent neighbors into your scam." Karen's lips trembled, but she doubled down. "You're lying. If you were really military, you'd be locked away already." That's when I pulled out my phone. I tapped a screen and within seconds a live video popped up, night vision footage from my property's hidden cameras. It showed Karen the week before sneaking onto my porch at midnight, stapling fake HOA notices to my door. Gasps shot through the crowd like thunder. Someone whispered, "Oh my God, she's been doing this to all of us." Karen's face drained of color. For the first time, she stumbled back, realizing her fake authority was crumbling and she had no way out. Karen's heels clicked against the pavement as she backed up, eyes darting left and right like a cornered animal. "This isn't over," she hissed, her voice small now. "You don't know who you're messing with." But the fake cops she'd brought weren't moving anymore. One dropped his walkie-talkie to the ground, another muttered, "I'm done with this," and slowly started peeling the phony patch off his shirt. I stepped forward, calm and deliberate, letting the silence of the street do the talking. "You picked the wrong family, you picked the wrong house." My wife's hand slid into mine, still shaking, but her eyes locked on Karen with a new kind of fire. Across the street, a man shouted, "Call the real cops." Phones were already out. Someone dialed 911. Karen's bravado cracked completely, her voice squeaked as she tried to command the others. "Stop filming, all of you, you'll regret this." But nobody stopped. The whole neighborhood had turned against her. I raised my phone higher, showing the recording to everyone. "This," I said, "is evidence of assault, impersonating an officer, and organized fraud." My tone was low but steady, the same tone I'd used giving orders on night ops overseas. "The real police are on their way right now, stay exactly where you are." Karen spun on her heel as if to run, but she froze at the sight of two black SUVs rolling slowly into the street. Blue and red strobes flashed behind their windshields, silent but unmistakable. My wife whispered, "Are those?" I smiled slightly, eyes never leaving Karen. "They're mine." Karen's jaw dropped. What do you mean yours?" she stammered, as uniformed federal agents stepped out, vests marked with big yellow letters. The entire street went dead quiet. The agents moved with quiet precision, not the clumsy swagger Karen's crew had shown. Boots hit pavement in perfect rhythm as two of them approached me first. "Commander," one said with a nod, "we got your alert, situation contained." I didn't take my eyes off Karen. "Almost," I said. "She tried to run an intimidation racket on my street, slapped my wife, brought in imposters." Karen stumbled back until her shoulder hit the hood of a car. "This is a mistake," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I was just enforcing the rules. This is HOA property." The lead agent stepped closer, his voice clipped. "Ma'am, this is not HOA property. This is private land owned outright, and you just committed assault and impersonated law enforcement." He held up real cuffs, metal, heavy and real this time. "You're under arrest." Her hands trembled, she looked at the neighbors, at the phones still pointed at her. "You don't understand," she cried. "He's lying, he's not a Navy SEAL." Another agent handed me a folder. Inside was the deed to the property, copies of the false notices, and statements from other neighbors she'd threatened. All the proof lined up like dominoes. I lifted it for everyone to see. "This ends tonight," I said. One of Karen's fake cops, now just a pale young man in a cheap uniform, murmured, "We didn't know, she told us she had permission." I nodded toward the agents. "They'll take your statements, cooperate, and you'll walk away with charges dropped. Stay with her and you go down with her." Karen's face twisted. "You can't do this," she screamed as the agents clicked the cuffs around her wrists. "I'll sue you, I'll—" "Ma'am," the lead agent interrupted coldly, "save it for court." The crowd erupted in murmurs, some clapping softly. For the first time, my wife's shoulders relaxed. She squeezed my hand, whispering, "It's finally over." I looked at her, then at the neighbors. "No," I said quietly, "it's finally beginning. No one scams this street again." Behind me, the SUV's lights painted the houses red and blue as the agents led Karen and her crumbling crew away, the echo of their boots fatting down the street. The SUVs rolled out slowly, Karen screaming empty threats from the back seat until the doors slammed shut and cut her voice off. The neighborhood stood in silence for a moment, like everyone was trying to process what just happened. Then almost all at once the whispers turned into cheers. People clapped, some even shouted, "Finally!" Phones stayed up, catching every second, the moment when a bully got dragged off in cuffs. My wife leaned into me, her cheeks still bruised but her smile breaking through. "You didn't even raise your voice," she whispered. I kissed the top of her head. "Didn't need to, truth and law are louder than anything she had." A man from across the street, the one who had been too afraid to speak earlier, walked over and shook my hand. His voice cracked as he said, "She scared us for months. We thought she controlled everything, but you just proved she had nothing." I nodded, my chest tight but steady. "That's why we fight back, not with fear but with proof." The agents left one last warning with the crowd. "If anyone else has been harassed, step forward, you're safe now." And for the first time in a long time, neighbors began to speak up, voices stronger, bolder, finally free. I stood on my porch, my arm around my wife, watching as the street came alive, not with fear but with unity. The red and blue lights faded into the distance, leaving only the soft glow of porch lamps and the sound of families talking openly again. I took a deep breath and looked at the land around me. "I didn't fight for this country just to be told I can't live free on my own property," I said firmly, loud enough for everyone to hear. "This is our home, and no fake cop, no fake HOA will ever take that away again." The neighbors clapped louder, some with tears in their eyes, and in that moment I knew this wasn't just about us anymore. It was about every family who'd ever been bullied, every voice silenced by fake power. Tonight, justice wasn't just served, it was claimed. And I made a promise to myself it would stay that way.